Guys for tuning in to Performance on Wheels. We have the 2020 Ford F-250 XLT behind us.
In this video, I'm going to reference quite a bit the Ram 2500 and comparing that to the 6.2 liter in the Ford. I have a lot of seat time, a lot of experience with them. Just wanted to give you a heads up that I will be bouncing back and forth quite a bit from that Ram to the Ford. On the 2020, there's very few differences, both interior and exterior, but there are a few. Take a peek at the grills. You can see that right in this area, it's changed a little bit. We got a different accent across the top. With the different trim models, that's going to change slightly as well. This is a same for same comparison.
The tailgate on the 2020 is a little different from the 19, just because of where the logo is and where it says Super Duty, as you can see on the 2019.
Check it out, guys. So 2020 Ford, not a ton of changes. What's cool about 2020 in the Super Duty market is the release of the Tremor. The Raptor of the Super Duty. It's an off-road oriented, even more so than the FX4. You get a 2-inch lift, you get some beefy 35-inch tires. It's a cool looking truck. Now, guys, the other thing that's worth noting is bringing back a
7.3 liter gas engine.
A big block, a big gas motor in the Super Duty segment. Ram's new, Chevy's new, Ford is just kind of spicing things up, refining a few things. Let's take a peek together at what that looks like. So everyone thinks that the front hub of a Super Duty is a manual locking differential. That is not true. See, just check it out, okay? So back in the day, you had to manually come up here and lock and unlock your hubs. It's a vacuum system. So when you turn that knob inside, regardless of what the hub is set to, you will go in four-wheel drive. Now, if you're in a situation or in a hairy spot where you want to make sure that front differential is not going to come unlocked, that's when you would get out and physically turn and manually lock it into place, or if there happened to be some sort of issue with that vacuum system.
Really quick before we get into comparing the vehicles, I'm going to do a very quick brief walk around of the interior and exterior, so just go ahead and check out the front end, the side view, and the back of this F-250. And now that we're back here, I want to show you guys something on the tailgate. Heck yeah.
This is a $375 option, and it has been in the Ford tailgates for quite some time now. I can attest firsthand to the reliability and durability. We use these and have used them in past trucks, some trucks that we have brought up to 200,000 miles. Using them on a daily basis, guys getting in and out of the tailgate. We use these when we have a fixed-in topper in the back. They work, They stay durable. They're awesome. There's no one else on the market that produces something that works as well as Ford's tailgate step. Right around 2013, my construction firm started purchasing these gas 6.2 liter motors. And we purchased quite a few of them. I think we purchased 10 or 12 of them. We took many of those trucks up to 200,000 miles before we made the decision to get rid of them. Those were almost all trouble-free 200,000 mile marks. We are still actually operating a handful of those trucks that have 120, 130, 140,000. Now these aren't trucks that are just driven. They are pulling trailers, they're on rough terrain. They are used and abused. They truly are. So we have a lot of experience with the track record this 6.2 liter motor delivers, and it's very good. There's a lot of the trucks that we've had and maintained where we aren't even doing tune-ups on them until 120, 130,000 miles. Some of the other fail points we've seen are along the drivetrain, either four-wheel drive related, axle related, U-joint, things of that nature. We haven't had any transmission issues, and we have not had any major engine issues. Just simple tune-ups, brakes, gas, tires, general maintenance stuff. 120, 130, 200,000 miles. This is a reliable truck. The Ram, on the other hand, in about 2015, 2016, we made the choice to start buying diesel Rams. A lot of this reason was just complaints from our field workers that they didn't like the 6.2 when it was towing a trailer. Now this engine does have its optimum power output in that higher RPM range, and depending on that axle you get, you are going to experience a lot of drive time if you've got a good load behind you in that higher RPM range. And it gets annoying, the constant shifting and just the constant engine whine of being at 4,000, 5,000 RPMs towing a trailer. So we switched over to the diesels primarily for that reason. We also were able to get a Cummins work truck, diesel, long box, four-wheel drive, the work trucks we're looking for more or less the same price as we were getting the gas Fords for. So we gave it a shot, and we bought a handful. Again, we probably went through anywhere from 10 to 15 Ram Cummins. Now here's the difference. The Rams are doing the exact same job the Fords are doing. They're pulling trailers, they're lots of highway miles, a lot of rough terrain, used and abused. People are driving them that it's not their truck. Exact same scenario as the 6.2 liters that we've had a proven track record for. Now those Rams, they're in the shop all the time. A lot of the issues are DEF, diesel related. That diesel it comes with a higher maintenance cost. There's a few of them that have been over 200,000 miles before we saw any sort of issue at all other than general maintenance. But we've also had some trucks that we made the decision, diesels mind you, to sell them at around 120,000 miles simply because they just seem to be problem prone. There was constant trips, major malfunctions, transmission issues, four-wheel drive issues. We do have one Ram that we've had to replace a motor on. So catastrophic repairs compared to the trouble-free miles we've experienced in the gas. Now here's what I can tell you from driving both of those trucks on a daily basis, as well as living and working with them. The Ford is the truck that you want to work with. If you're using your truck to make money, it's the truck you want. It simply does not break. And it feels that way too. When you're driving down the road, it feels solid, it feels rough. It's got more of a truck ride than the Ram does. The Ram is the truck that you want to live with. If you just have the truck because you're towing a horse trailer or some side-by-sides or whatever the case may be, it's more of a toy hauler than a work hauler, then that's when I say you want the Ram. It's a more comfortable truck to drive. It's a more comfortable truck to ride with. However, when we push those Rams hard, which we have pushed many of them hard, we are consistently seeing trips to the repair shop.
Let's hop in the interior of this thing. First of all, we gotta hit unlock. Super cheap, super basic, super simple, plastic everywhere. Let's start it up. I don't think you guys are ready for this. I left a cup from Chipotle right over here, so check this out. We have one cup holder, two cup holders. This is about to be a magic trick. We have 4 cup holders. And you think 4 cup holders up here is crazy? Think about the fact that there's 1 in each door and 2 right here. That means there's 10 cup holders. That's a lot of drinks for the coworkers. Yes, drinks for the coworkers is important. So is storage and charging up. Check out the amount of storage in here. It is longer than my, like that. To mention, we have a coin slot, extra storage right here. As we move up here, we have some more storage, as well as a USB and a USB Type-C charger. Right to the right, we also have a cigarette port charger, as well as a normal outlet. While we are also charging up the camera we're using right now with another normal charger, another USB, and another USB Type-C. We also have a cigarette port back here as well. But it's also extremely functional. Everything's laid out easy. Nice to know where everything is. I mean, it's pretty simple. Trailer brake, 2 high, 4 low, and if I pull this out, we can lock that rear diff. Probably one of the most underutilized options is the locking rear differential. You cannot engage it at speeds above 25 miles an hour. Probably one of the most easy to use and self-explanatory center displays that I've ever used. So this is how you just control everything. Down brings you down, side brings you right into what you're looking at. So display modes, we can just see how fast we're going to just the obvious systems. And here's one of them, the lane keeping assist system, which Todd will talk about right now.
It's found right above the navigation if you have it. Simple on-off button there. Now here's what I can say about it. It's not awesome. I get just a simple shake when I approach that lane. It does a great job of recognizing the lines in the road, but there's no audible chime. There's no pulling back assist. It is simply the rumbling of the steering wheel that you see, as well as the indication light on the dashboard turns red. So there's definitely room for improvement in that safety feature.
And wrapping up the steering wheel, we have all of our call settings right here, radio settings right here, and cruise control is off to the left, as well as a horn. Work is just stressing me out. Honestly, I'm so sick of this construction site. Let me just throw calm screen on. Oh, so much better. Let's move to the center screen. Pretty standard on the Ford system here. I've actually just noticed this, but it has a night mode. During the day it has a white background, and now at night it has a blue background, which looks pretty nice. I actually prefer the night mode. It's pretty standard. We have audio, phone, navigation, apps, and settings. There's barely any apps standardly installed. You have to find those manually. And in our settings, we don't have anything too special out of a normal Ford either.
If you like the feeling of a truck, the Ford feels more like a truck to me. A lot of that has to do with the sitting position. You sit more up. Another reason, again, just my opinion, that I think it feels more like a truck is the cutout of the window. It feels like you're sitting up a lot higher and everything's down below you. Let's talk about sitting position and seats. Seats are awesome. They really are. It's a place where you can spend countless hours, and that's what it's meant for. You sit on your tush, you're in here, this is your office, and all of the engineering and thought that has gone into the seats has that in mind. Me, myself, I'm 6 feet tall, I'm 220 pounds. I actually have the seat all the way back. Now that the steering wheel is telescoping. It has manual adjustment here on the XLT. And as far as the seats that come on the XLT, we just have our normal bar up front for maneuverability. We have our back reclining. Very simple, easy to use. And then we have that turnstile lumbar support. What I'll tell you about the lumbar support is it does add a significant difference from having it all the way turned off to being fully engaged, and that lumbar is more extreme lower back oriented. It's just above your tailbone. It doesn't add any support much higher than that. So with that being said, let's take a peek at what the back seat has to offer. In the crew cab, we're in the long box. That doesn't make a difference here for the back. You can see that all 4 doors just has a tremendous amount of storage. Getting up on the running board and a nice hand grip to plop in back here. How many people do you want to fit? That's pretty much what it comes down to. We can put 4 or 5 people laying on the ground back here. Probably another 6 in the bench seat. There is tons of room. Every direction. Doesn't matter where you're sitting in this thing, you're gonna be comfortable and you can spend a lot of time. My only complaint that I would say, if you want to get critical, the back seat is set a little bit lower than the front seats. So your butt's just down a little bit lower. It's not as comfortable from the front seat from that perspective, meaning your knees are higher than your butt, where on the front seat you're more level in that regards. Let me show you, just because we're in the back here, the massive amounts of under seat storage. So back in the day, I think Chevy had it figured out. Chevy used to win the torque horsepower numbers. This is the 8.1 liter in a 2001 Suburban, a 2500. This engine was created to be a competition to diesel when diesel prices were extremely high. Now back in 2001, this 8.1 liter produced 340 horsepower along with 455 pound-feet of torque at 3,200 RPMs. I have had the opportunity to spend a lot of my life in the driver's seat of the 6.2 gas motor. That 6.2 did come out in 2010. It was introduced in that first gen Raptor. 2011 is when it was introduced into the Super Duty Fords. I've also had a lot of seat time in the 6.4 gas Hemi. That's actually what I'm driving for my work truck right now. Prior to that, it was the Ford gas motor. My opinion on driving the 6.2 versus the Ram 6.4, again, just speaking directly about the engine, I like the responsiveness, I like the torque, I like daily driving. It feels like a more effortless engine. And what I'm talking about is the Hemi. I would pick the Hemi over the 6.2 on a daily driving standpoint. We haven't had any issues with the reliability on the Hemis we've had. And now let's talk gas mileage.
So about gas mileage. On this, you're not really going to see over 13 whether you're pulling a trailer or not. Where on the Ram with the 4-cylinder cutoff, you can see about 13 on a daily basis and upwards of 17 on a road trip.
There you go, boys and girls, 246 a gallon. 13 miles to the gallon. If you're being generous, you do the math. In the event you have to have it, here it is. It's that $9,000+ 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel in the F-250. For 2020, we're entering that new class leading 1,050 pound-feet of torque. Now, just to give you an example of how that has improved over this past decade, since we are in that new decade now, about 10 years ago in that Power Stroke, we were seeing 650 pound-feet of torque. Now, 1,050. 37,000 pound towing capacity on the gooseneck in the Power Stroke.
On the gas motors, you will only have one exhaust. Where on the diesels, you'll have an aggressive 2.
We have been in Rams. You've spent a lot of time in Chevys.
Yeah, yep.
I've spent a lot of times in Fords as well as Rams. What do you think? What's your favorite Super Duty, big, manly truck?
Well, I actually work on Chevys at a dealership, and in doing so and talking to the higher up mechanics, I do know that Chevys are not the most reliable vehicles these days, nor are the Rams when it comes to Super Duties.
Yeah, and I there's bits and features that I really like about the Ram. I love the interior. I love the infotainment, which I don't like and I'm not a fan of in the Ford.
No, they're behind in that.
But when it comes to, you know, getting the most bang for your buck or having a reliable truck, it's kind of hands down Ford. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. Ford tough. Built Ford tough.
Built Ford tough. The big blue oval.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to luxury and best looking, I would pick the Ram hands down. If I were towing for fun, towing a boat, you know, stuff like that, big old boat, I'd definitely choose the Ram. If I were doing something where, you know, there's not many cases where I really would pick the Chevy. I think it's
someone gave it to me.
Yeah, I guess if somebody gave it to me. I mean, I think it's lacking on the interior, and it's also lacking in the reliability, so it's kind of lacking pretty much everywhere, in my opinion, when it comes to a truck. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad vehicle. It's just, I think
there's better choices.
There's better choices,
yeah,
for sure.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate spending a little time with you talking about the 2020 Super Duty from Ford.
Yeah, thank you guys. Please like, please subscribe. We will see you next time.
Take care.